Hello and welcome to yet another of our Philmont Trek Talk live monthly chats where we try to answer every question we can to help people have the absolute best trek possible. Yeah, I think we've kind of expanded our scope a little bit. Trek possible, visit to Philmont, visit to the PTC. Whatever you're doing that's Philmont related, we want you to get the absolute most out of it. And for that reason, we have got an exciting show for you with lots to talk about today. We've got a couple of our normal panelists, as well as some faces that you may or may not recognize that are going to help shed some light on some really cool additional information. So we'll go around and do introductions, but real quick, you know what, we'll do that. We'll do introductions. Everyone can give your quick little talk, and then we'll dive into some things. So, Mark, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Mark Schwer. I'm somewhat regular on this panel, and I come to you from Iowa City, Iowa. I'm with Hawkeye Area Council, and I'm a longtime Phil staffer and longtime PSA member, and I've trekked at Philmont a lot. Not as much as Phil, but a lot.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Michael, welcome.
I'm Michael Rounds. I first experienced Philmont in 1974. Spent 6 years on staff, and have returned to Philmont about every other year since then. And I'm the owner and webmaster of Philtrek, which is designed to help people choose an itinerary.
Yeah, and a lot of crews have got to be getting excited about that coming up. So timely, really thrilled to have you here. We'll get to you. I think you may be the last one today because the crews are going to hear about your stuff. So we're going to make them wait to hear what you have to say. All right, so thank you, Rory. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name's Rory Crofton, and I'm coming to you live from Cimarron, New Mexico. Not Philmont itself, just down the road. And I am the Villa Philmonte curator out here at Philmont. So I work in the museum department, specifically overseeing the wonderful historic Villa Philmonte here on the property.
All right, excellent. And they actually have internet out there, apparently. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Just for this.
Yeah. Okay, Scott?
I'm Scott O'Mary. I'm Scoutmaster of Troop 259 here in Plano, Texas. I'm a pseudo-regular panelist here, and I'm going to fill in some of the gaps on what crews should be working on a little bit later on.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. Hi, I'm Jeff. Among a team of moderators, run the Philmont Trek Talk group and do other various things. So, but for tonight, I'll be your tour guide and moderator and try to keep the discussion moving. And with that, we're going to go this way to Phil.
Hey, I'm Phil Winegardner. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. I think I'm the old guy here. I started Philmont in 1968 as a Kit Carson Man. That's the precursor to the Rayado program that we have today. And I was staff for many years. And now I'm currently on the PSA board of directors. I'm a national director. And I help run the PSA Treks, Volunteer Vacation. And what I'm talking about tonight is Philbreak, just a great economical way to see Philmont.
Yeah, I am excited to hear about that. I have an anonymous informant that works out at the ranch told me just this evening that she is super excited about Philbreak and some of the things that are going to happen there. So, and that's about all the information I could get. So I'm dying to hear what you have to say about that. But first, a couple housekeeping things I would like to share. Let me see if I can get the share back up. I want to remind everyone, we are officially unofficial. Okay. This is a group of people who like Philmont and care about it and care about helping people have the best time possible at Philmont. But most of us don't actually work for Philmont. So, so keep in mind anything you get out of the Philmont Trek Talk group or out of this discussion, unless Rory tells you it's unofficial, right? or maybe Phil in his official capacity. But if you want the official information, then I'm going to drop this URL in the chat. It is for the schedule. If I get back to the chat, I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry. If we can get back to the, there we go. So that URL is going to get you to the, I don't think I shared that properly. There we go. That's what I was looking for. That is going to get you to this page. It shows you when the official Philmont preparedness seminars are scheduled, and it's what is it, the third Wednesday of every month, something like that. It's all listed on here. They'll put links up there for you, and they've got some sort of, if you sign up to all of them, you get something special. I don't know all the details. That's their deal. So please check them out and be sure that you are tuned in to all the official information and not just getting our unofficial information. Oh, we're not supposed to have that one up yet. So, yeah, my mouse is going crazy. Here we go. Oh, that's interesting. I appreciate that, Scott. I didn't know that was going to happen, by the way. So, yeah, if you want to disrupt the program, subscribe to Camping Gear Report. It'll put that little graphic up on the screen. That's new. I wasn't aware that was going to happen. So thanks for that. And let's see. I'm going to, at the end, if we have time, I'm going to talk about the Philmont Trek Talk group's Autumn Adventure proposal that we put out there that we're trying to think about. We'll answer any questions people have about Philmont gear, since we're still in that gift giving season. That could be interesting for people. I'd like Scott, before we go to Rory, Scott, do you have any updates for us timing wise for summer 25 or 26 cruise? Where should they be right now?
So 2025 cruise any minute now, and it may be out there now, I didn't check. The itineraries are going to be published for the 2025 season. So I know our crews are anxiously awaiting those itineraries to come out. And I believe, correct me if they're wrong, they have about a few weeks to do the number crunching and figure out exactly their top few itineraries, get them into the lottery system. And I'm looking forward to hearing Michael's Phil Trek conversation on that topic a little bit later. Yes. Yeah. So that's what's going on the 2025 cruise. The 2026 cruise, which I've got a couple of those I'm working right now. We just paid our final deposits on December 1st, so about 10 days ago. And I suspect there are quite a few 2026 crews that, they thought they'd need 2 or 3 crews, but they only ended up with 1 or 2 crews, and they may have given some dates back to Philmont to put back into the pot. So if you were wanting a 2026 crew and the dates you wanted just didn't kind of work out with the lottery for you, go back out there and check and see what might be available that you can pick up at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people may have given up already if they didn't get what they wanted initially. So, yeah, go back and check now. Okay, with that, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Rory, are you ready?
I'm ready to go. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, perfect. Well, first and foremost, just want to thank you, Jeff, and everyone else here for having me this evening. I'm super excited to be able to listen to share a little bit of an update on the Philmont museums, specifically the Villa Philmonte, but we'll talk a little bit about what's happening at a few of the museums here at Philmont. And I'll just start off by saying, there are so many things to love about Philmont. The thing that I just love the most is the history of this special place, all of the amazing people and cultures and things that have happened here over the course of hundreds of years. And so working in the museum department, I just have the super exciting job of getting to share that with everybody who comes out to visit us here on the ranch. And I hope that any viewing this will take the opportunity to do that when you're out here on or participating in DC programs, anything else that you're doing here on the ranch. There's so much to see, so much to learn, And you can do it. The great thing is you can do it any season that you're here on the ranch, whether it's the bustling craziness of summer or kind of quiet off season here in the winter as well. So to kind of start, I'll just highlight a couple of things that are going on at the National Scouting Museum. That's of course kind of our crown jewel here in the museum department on the ranch. Maybe you probably know the National Scouting Museum here in 2018, and ever since it's kind of been a tough, exciting development of exhibits and programming and things like that happening there. Just last year, we redid the entire gallery, the Scouting Heritage Gallery, Scouting History Gallery at the National Scouting Museum. And over the course of the last several months, we've been working on continuing that progress, that update on the Philmont and New Mexico History Gallery as well. And so even if you visit the National Scouting Museum this summer, the next time you're out here, I would definitely encourage you to swing by that museum, check that out, because it's going to be I'm not going to say completely different. The Scouting Heritage Gallery will be, but certainly those back galleries, there's going to be a whole new variety of things to check out, and that'll just keep changing. So definitely swing by and check that out. That is open. That museum is open year round. So no matter when you're here, come by and see that. One of our other museums that often kind of gets overlooked, though, that I'll throw out is the Kit Carson Museum down at Rayado. That is one of our season museums. That's only open in the summer, unfortunately. So if you're staff down there in period clothing, 1840s clothing, reenacting cooking and blacksmithing and all kinds of other things that are relevant to that sort of period on the Santa Fe Trail. We have live animals down there, all kinds of cool stuff. We're still kind of working out plans, specific plans for programming for this summer, but that's always a favorite and always worth checking out if you have the ability to get down there either before or after your trek. The main reason I'm here tonight, of course, is to talk about the Villa Philmonte. All of our museums are special, but the Villa Philmonte, of course, has an especially special place in my heart, since I'm the curator over there. And so for anyone who doesn't know, the Villa Philmonte, of course, is the 1927 vacation home of Waite and Genevieve Phillips, who, as you might have guessed from the name, are the benefactors of Philmont Scout Ranch. The two of them donated about, almost 150,000 acres of land to us, to the Scouts, to create this wonderful place that we know as Philmont Scout Ranch today. So the Villa really has the unique task of preserving and interpreting the incredible story of Waite and Genevieve and their family, not just their life before coming out to Philmont, but also the incredible story and legacy that they left in the donation of all of this land and support to the Scouts to create Philmont Scout Ranch. And so we of course offer tours throughout the year. Our biggest season, of course, is in the summer. We offer upwards of 16 tours a day in the summer, so plenty of opportunity for people to come through and check us out. The best way to go about coming through on a visit is to contact the National Scouting Museum, and you can find their contact information. I think we have the website up here, philmontscoutranch.org/museums, and that'll have all the contact information, emails, phone numbers. We're not officially taking tours quite yet. We know we usually have some beavers that want to schedule tours all the way in December, but certainly in the new year, give us a call and we'd be happy to get you scheduled in there. Usually tours last about an hour. They show you all 3 floors of the house, and we take you through the entire sort of history of the building and its construction, all of the fantastic artifacts, furnishings that are inside there. But we also get to talk to you, as I say, about the biographies of each of the Phillips family members, their life growing up in Iowa, moving down to Oklahoma, getting into the oil business, purchasing all of the land with their fortune here in New Mexico, and then, of course, eventually turning around and giving that away to the Scouts for all of our youth programs and adult programs that we still do today. So lots to see and learn. I think the thing that I would just kind of emphasize is that, oftentimes people, when they think of coming out to Philmont, they're really focused, of course, on the hiking and the outdoor adventure, which is why you're here. It's why I'm here. It's an incredible place to do that. But I think at the end of the day, if you ask a lot of people who work out here at Philmont, a lot of us will agree that, you can go on some pretty cool outdoor adventures in a lot of places. But the thing that makes Philmont so specifically unique and special is just the great story and the great kind of tale of generosity and giving went into making this experience possible. And so if you have a chance to come through the villa, we know that old houses and historic house tours are not everybody's cup of tea, but it really helps to set the scene in giving you and your scouts a much greater understanding and appreciation of what you're going to experience here on the ranch while you're participating in your program. Certainly you can come before your trek, you can come after your trek. Hopefully you don't come in the middle of your trek, because that means something's probably happened. But yeah, come before, come after. But I would say if you have the chance to come before you hit the trail or at the very beginning of your time at PTC, that is just going to lay the groundwork for you having all the more meaningful of an understanding of what you're doing out here and what you're experiencing. And I think, I've spoken to people who have come out here on trek and done the tour before, and people who have done the trek after. And a lot of people say, the scouts that they were with, they had a much more meaningful experience with that history lesson beforehand. And we make it fun. It's not just a dry, boring tour. We have great tour guides that make it super fun, super enjoyable, interactive. And as I always say, I spend more time in that building than literally anybody else. And even I'm still seeing and learning new things on a regular basis. So even if you've been through a million times, we'll send you out of here with something new by the end of it. But the big exciting news that we have from the villa specifically is that we are in the middle of a massive restoration project over at the Villa Philmonte, which is really giving us a pretty nice new facelift. The last time any major work was done on the building was probably, I think 20 plus years ago. And so we are, if you've been to the villa in the last couple of years, I'll be the first to admit, we've been looking a little run down outside. The inside looks great, but the outside, definitely needed some TLC. And so right now, since July, the villa's been under scaffolding. We have an awesome team of construction workers and historic preservation architects and people on site. The big thing that they're doing is they're completely stripping the latex paint off the exterior of the building that was applied sometime in the late 80s, early 90s. And so that's a huge job. They're pulling all of that off. And then once that's off, they're going to completely re-stucco the building and bring it back to its original appearance. So what you see now, that kind of painted, flat look, is not actually how the villa looked when it was built in 1927. So when it's re-stuccoed, you're going to get the authentic look, which is very exciting, and it's going to be really good for the structure of the building and everything. We'll get into all those boring details, but from a historic preservation standpoint, it's very exciting. And then we're also using the opportunity to do some other touch-ups. Things like all of the decorative ironwork on the building has been removed and shipped down to Albuquerque, where it's been completely stripped and refurbished and repainted. And actually, we just got word that it's all good to go, and it's going to be brought back up here on site any day now, and we're going to start getting that reinstalled, which is very exciting. And then the last major piece is working on all of our woodwork. So there's lots of windows, doors, handrails, balconies that are all kind of looking a little worn out. So we're replacing, rotted out wood. We're repainting and refinishing all of that. And so ultimately, that's going to really make the villa pop and give it an overhaul just in time for its 100th birthday in 2027. We're doing a few other things, like, some tile work, walkway repair, some garden upgrades, things like that. But that's kind of the real brunt of it. So when you come through this summer, we're still going to be offering tours. We're still going to be doing our open houses in the afternoon where you can walk through without a tour, but expect to maybe see some ongoing construction as well. But it's all going to be worth it in the end. So, and we'll still make a great, enjoyable experience. But I think that's mostly everything I have. I hope I didn't go too over time or anything there. But yeah, if there are any questions from anybody, I'd be more than happy to chat. Yeah.
I have a quick question. I'm going to nerd out on you here. When I was at the Villa Philmonte in August, I think they mentioned that there used to be like 2 or 3 different main entrances over time. Are they going to do with the restoration? Are they going back to the original entrance? set up?
It's a really good question. So yeah, the villa is a very odd building because the common question, the most frequently asked question is where's the front door? And really the villa had an official front door. Kind of, if you've been on a villa tour, you know, the breakfast room on the main floor, that was the main entrance. And then the Phillipses moved the entrance downstairs by the garages because they were finding all their guests wanted to park their cars and then didn't want to walk all the way back around to the front door. So they kind of, used the side door as the official main entrance. But at the end of the day, the house is in the middle of the woods. So, you could really come and go as you please when you were visiting. The new quote-unquote door is kind of down by the garage. So that's very exciting. So I guess that's a really roundabout way of saying there are a lot of front doors, and we're still going to continue to use a number of them. But there's no official. We're not going to go back to using the front.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah, the one in the very front. I spent a little time in a tent right beside the villa at the PTC this past summer, and I was abusing the privilege of being able to walk all over the front yard, and there may be slightly fewer cherries on the trees out front than there were when I got there. But I told everyone Rory said it was okay. I forgot to check with you before I told him that, but but I did notice.
Please.
Yeah, I noticed that what looked like the front door, there was like some birds living in the little woodwork stuff right over that walkway. Like, I'm not sure I want to walk in and out that direction, So yeah.
Yeah, those swallows, they can be a little aggressive, but we're working on that's actually another part of our restoration is we're doing some new bird netting to hopefully get them encouraged to move elsewhere so they're not pooping and attacking people.
Right. Yeah, my hair's white enough without them adding to it.
So with the stripping of the paint and stuff, does that mean all the ivy's coming down by the garage?
It does, unfortunately. So that's actually been done thanks to the PSA, actually. Some volunteers from the PSA last year during the homecoming celebration, the PSA reunion, we had a bunch of PSA volunteers that came out and they helped us remove all of the vines from around the building. I believe our goal is we have sort of I believe it's a wisteria vine that's sort of on the inner courtyards, and we would like that to potentially come back. But certainly the Virginia creeper is actually something that's not historically accurate for the building, and it does a lot of damage to it. So we're kind of happy that it's going away. It adds a cool look, but ultimately it's doing more damage than it's worth. So yeah.
All right. Interesting. Well, thanks so much. As things happen, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Or you know what? We'll talk off air. I want you, Rory, to understand that you and all the people there at the museum, anytime you want to come on and tell us about something, you're welcome to. We can work out the details on that off air. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing, you mentioned the villa is different every time. You learn something every time you go in it. That's been my experience as well. I noticed the pictures that when I was scrolling through, the thing that always blew my mind is, and this is something I would encourage crews, if you're going to come and do a tour, if you got someone who plays piano, make sure they practice before they get there, because it blew me away. And I'll tell you, it's something that I hear from scouts later who play piano, who were allowed to play the piano in the main room of the villa. And it's like they feel like this, I'm actually allowed to touch it, I'm actually allowed to play it. So that's one of the coolest. I don't want to set an expectation everyone gets to do that, because I don't know how that works, but I would say
it's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
it's one of the things that I think is the most special part of coming through the villa. Yeah, if you don't know how to play piano, we're not just going to let you kind of pick the keys. But if you do know how to play piano, and in my experience, I've been given the tours out here. I'll have been in this position for 4 years on January 1st, and I think every tour, I don't even want to think about how many tours I've given at this point, but every tour I've had at least one person who can play piano. So yeah, come on through, give us a little concert, and that's the most exciting thing, is having that history, having people be able to have that hands-on history, and that personal connection to it. It's pretty special. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Sure. Thanks so much. I'm going to use your segue that you said hands-on, and I don't know a lot about Philbreak, but I understand that it is a very hands-on experience. So I'd like to transition over to Phil now to how did you get a break named after you? That's the first question.
Well, Philmont, named.
Oh.
We just started at the beginning, so.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about Philbreak. I've heard it's exciting and wonderful, and people are looking forward to it, but we need all the details.
Well, there it is. As you can see, it's sponsored by the Conservation Department. It's been around for a long time. It's come and gone. It first started back, I believe, in 2003 after the Poneal Complex fire, which was the year before in 2002. And Philmont needed people, needed workers, needed help. So they came to the PSA and the Order of the Arrow at the time and started recruiting people to come out in March, thus Spring Break, Philbreak, that's how we had the title, to come out and help out with the cleanup after that first fire. It quickly changed, evolved every year. It's been a little bit different, but it ran in that early session until about 2008, I guess, and was very successful, but for reasons unknown, I've been doing some research, it just kind of faded away. But anyway, then after the Ute Park fire, Philbreak came back in 2019, again in March. Philmont came back to the PSA and the OA and said, we need help. So right away it was started up again. It's been different lengths. Sometimes it's 4 individual sessions. Currently it's 2 individual sessions. But what it is it's work. It's you're helping out Philmont, you're helping the Conservation Department. Over the years, we've done just about everything. As I said, it first started with fire recovery efforts, erosion control, debris clearing. It's evolved into forest thinning, making slash piles, hauling lumber. Now that Philmont has gone with contracted professionals that are doing all the thinning work up around the Miners Park, the Beaubien Road corridor, Philbreak, we don't really do much of the thinning work anymore, but we're still involved in all sorts of fire recovery efforts. But at the same time, we're just helping out the Conservation Department.
Yeah, that's awesome.
With their winter staff. It's very diversified. We do just about everything. Just last year, we were up at Blackjack's Trail Camp. We were putting in fire rings and sumps. They were at Miranda burning slash piles. Miners Park, we come in after the professional thinning equipment has done their job, and we get some of the small stuff that they can't get to with their machines. We were at Cimarron Cita, getting ready for a prescribed burn up there behind the main set of buildings. We were over at Crater Lake, actually below Crater Lake, again, following up, doing some of that fine thinning type work. The second session last year even was in the Philmont burro pasture, not cleaning up, but working on erosion control. There's a lot of big gullies over in that area. So it's all sorts of work, but it's fun. It really is. There's usually 20 to 30 people, volunteers per session. Housing, you're housed in roofed housing at Philmont. You're not camping out. You're not in tents. You're usually over in camping headquarters in the quads or the duplexes. Last year, we were even, due to housing shortages with so much going on there in the springtime, a lot of us were down at the cattle headquarters in the bunkhouse down there. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
a pretty nice facility down there also. And this year, from what I've been told, will probably be spread all over the place again also. What I said early on, it's the most economical, can you say cheap, way to get to Philmont and spend a week there. It's $160. That's it. And that's, you come in on a Saturday and you leave the following Saturday. So you have all your meals, roofed housing, everything taken care of for that measly $160 investment. So I don't think there's any better way to go and see Philmont. And you're not just in base camp, as I said, you're all over the ranch doing different stuff. You're truck, suburban, fill vehicled all over the place every day. When the weather gets real bad, we've even gone into the commissary warehouse, avoided the weather and built trail meals. So we do all sorts of things. Trying to think of other things to mention. As I said,
it says on the site, if you don't mind, I've shared a couple links. The first one that I had up here, this is just how to find it. If you start at the general page with all the different programs on it, you scroll down, and the one with the wood pile, that's Philbreak. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page. It has all the details. So a lot of the stuff you're talking about is actually on here. But the one thing that I've had discussions with people.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, then go ahead. You can talk about it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I know in prior years it's been available to only PSA members and their eligible family members. I've heard that this year that restriction's being taken off, so you don't have to have some PSA connection to do this.
Yeah, a little bit of history here. It's been everything pretty much over all the years. When we restarted it in 2019, it was pretty much PSA members and Order of Arrow members. We went to OA leadership. They did their own recruiting. The PSA did their own recruiting. The OA has kind of faded out. They've gotten involved with other projects and they just stopped being involved with Philbreak. So for the last 4 years, basically anybody can attend Philbreak. The PSA managed their members separately. They registered on our website, the PSA website, and Philmont put up its own website to register scouts who have to be 16 years or older, by the way, and adult scouters. So we were always working together. Anybody can attend. You just have to be a registered member of the scouts of the PSA. So, yeah, it's great. We've had numerous scouts, and quite often their dad or their whatever adult leadership that have never had an opportunity to get to Philmont. They couldn't get on a regular trek, or the finances were just too prohibitive that we all know the cost, and they just couldn't afford it. But to come out for the 160 and experience a week of Philmont is really a great opportunity. I think it also mentions there that if you come in by train, Philmont has a $20 round trip shuttle from Raton. If you fly into Albuquerque, it's $100 round trip shuttle fee. That's really, really cheap. They do not do Denver at this time. They just don't do that in the off season. One other thing we do besides, I mentioned you're there to work and help out and provide service hours to Philmont, but in the evenings we have special events. We have we have villa tours. They're always provided for us. We have a special night at the Scouting Museum. We have a special night at the To the Time Traders, and then the PSA office has an open house for everybody to attend, buy merchandise. They've always got some snacks for us and just socialize. And then also the SAC, or the Staff Activity Center, is always open if you've got time left in your day, if you want to go up there and play any games or watch TV or something like that. So it's a great event. I think you showed the dates this year, March 5th through the 15th, March 8th through the 15th, and then the 15th through the 22nd. Registration right now, we allow 30 slots per session. We've got, I think, about 14 or 15 already registered for each week. So if you're thinking about it, jump on it right away, because it will probably fill up.
I may have to do that. I've got a friend in cons that is encouraging me. That's going to be up, apparently burning the piles up at Miranda. So maybe I can get out and join my friend in the backcountry for that. The price is definitely right. And it sounds, I'm not afraid of a little bit of work. That sounds like it'll be neat when going back to see things that I've worked on, just like every time I've hiked a trail that I did trail work on a summer cons project as part of a trek, it's meaningful. Right. So I think going back and contributing will give everyone involved some great memories.
One thing I forgot is we work 5 days. We get there Saturday. We start working on Sunday, and we work Sunday through Thursday. But then Friday is our day off, and Cons organizes day hikes for us. So
wow.
We kind of go with a group vote. Sometimes we've gone in different directions. We split the group up and go to different places. But Friday is side hike day. Go out into the backcountry once again and see more of Philmont. So that's just a great opportunity.
Well, you sold me. So good job. Thank you. For anyone else who has been sold on it, I'm going to drop the link in the chat here. For this page, this is the Camping Gateway sign up for Philbreaks, Philbreak registration page. You pick the session you want, fill out all the information, and it looks pretty straightforward. I'm not sure I'm comfortable putting my weight down at this point, but I got a couple months to get right with myself before having to do that, I guess.
This is sort of the generic Philmont registration page. They've got some crazy stuff in there, but it's there. It's there. Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to mention, because the next guy coming up won't say it, but this guy has hiked and summited every single 14er in Colorado. And this summer, he just completed the Colorado Trail. So he's quite a guy. And his website, Philtrek, is excellent. I use it every year. As I mentioned, I help with the PSA treks, and it's just a great planning tool. So I'll be quiet now.
I'm glad you shared that, because something Michael said early on, I believe you said 74 is the first time you were at Philmont. That means that you no longer qualify as a spring chicken. That makes it that much more impressive that you're still getting out and defeating these 14ers. I want to be like you when I grow up. I think that's what I'm saying.
Well, that was a spur of the moment trip this last summer to hike the Colorado Trail. So it was only 486 miles.
Right. Of course. Well, welcome. And Phil, thanks so much. Rory, thank you for your presentation. Michael, I think that the crews have got to be chomping at the bit to see what their itineraries are going to look like. And, we talk about a variety of different ways that crews can distill all of the information available. And something that we always come back to is the website that you built and the resource that it is. And I appreciate you making yourself available to come talk to us, because we could bastardize the directions for how to use it and all of that, or we could just go straight to the source and say, why don't you tell us about what you've built, why you've built it, how people should use it, that kind of thing.
So Philtrek is basically a labor of love. It was originally designed as a way to try and help crews narrow down the choices of itineraries to ones that will hit the most features and activities and stuff that they want to do. And so it's basically putting all the information into a database so that we can run queries and say, okay, show me the itineraries that include black powder rifle and rock climbing and the Tooth of Time or something like that. And so it'll take those 35 12-day itineraries and 15 or so 9 7-day itineraries and show you those that meet those criteria. And then it started evolving into a lot more things with the ability to, when you went on that trek back in 1999 and trying to remember where did I go, you can look it up. Go back into the archives and look up all that information. So it goes all the way back to the first pre-planned itineraries in the late 60s and goes through that information. It has abilities and information about just individual camps, the history of those camps that we have. If you have multiple crews, where they rendezvous, so that maybe you can choose itineraries so that your crews can meet up in the backcountry. And then something that actually is a direct result of Phil is route options, where you can look for different ways to get between two camps. So you have the official route that Philmont recommends, but there are other ways to get there, especially if you
this is the route that Phil recommends, is what you're saying. It sounds like.
I was the one that usually said, well, let's go this way. And because you may have gone, the same direction between Ute Gulch and Cimarron Cedo 12 times, but did you ever go through Aspen Springs, or did you go through Grouse Canyon, or how about Hidden Valley? There's many different ways to get between those two camps. And so that's what the site is about. One of the things that it has on the premium side, which is not required, is the ability to download GPX files for those people who kind of want to keep an eye on what their crew leader is doing for navigation to make sure that they don't get too far off. But that's not a requirement to use the site at all.
Seriously, only $6 a year, though. I mean, come on, people. You can do $6 a year.
I just
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sell you
my membership.
So, all right. But go ahead and click on the top 3 choices button there in the upper left. And that's kind of your home page, where you can then, from that, you have basically 2 different choices. You can pick your top 3 camps that you want, or your top 3 programs, and it will narrow down the itineraries from there. And it's just a matter of your standard kind of, if you go down to programs and you use control click or option click on a Mac to pick, the example I had before, pick rock climbing and black powder and, Baldy mountain hike or something like that. And so you can see it filters down to just show the rock climbing camps. And if you hold down control and pick black powder, now it's showing, okay, it's narrowed down even further. The lines rather than the boxes mean that program is a pass-through, which is not a guarantee. Where if you're camped at a camp, they pretty much try and guarantee you program. Pass-through, they try and give you program, but those that camp there get priority. So it all depends on when you arrive, what the weather is, things like that. but that kind of starts to give you an idea. And so now you've narrowed it down from 35 itineraries to just 7. And you can look a lot closer at, like, is 60 miles or 87 miles. What is it that catches our attention, whether it's strenuous, rugged, super strenuous, things like that. I will say a couple things. Obviously, there's changes that are going on at Philmont. They have discontinued their relationship with the Chase Ranch. So the staff camps and the trail camps in the Chase Ranch area will no longer be used next year going forward. They are reopening many of the staff camps in the Ute Park Burn area. Harlan was staffed this year. Dean Cow will be staffed next year. They will also be reopening and staffing Ute Gulch next year. So those camps and programs will be reintroduced in here. I did hear that the mine tour at French Henry has been discontinued. At least it was last year, possibly permanently. I don't know yet further on that. I am working with Philip on the permanent staff for reviewing the itinerary list for 2025, and that should be published this month.
Yeah, I heard that when the Aztec mine inspector walked in, he got partway in and stopped and said, "Turn around, walk out quietly." And when he got out, he said, the mountain has moved. This mine is closed. So it seemed like he saw some very dramatic changes. And so I expect that it will not reopen.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the inspector has a good history with Philmont. He's done it multiple times, and so he was well familiar with the mine, which is what allowed him to notice that things had changed.
Yep.
So you can see there's only 2 itineraries at camp at French Henry. So if you're looking for multiples there, you aren't going to have a lot of choices.
Yeah. Neat. Okay, so what else should we look at? That's really cool. I like that.
Pick any itinerary. Just click on the blue above, either 23 or 34 there.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So this is going to show you the complete information about that particular itinerary. So it's, the description of that itinerary. It's labeled as a strenuous and its mileage. Shows you every place it camps, what programs are offered either at that camp or as a pass-through. And then some basic information about what trailheads you start with, higher and lower elevations, and then a live map of showing kind of a recommended trail path between the camps. Now, my trail path might not perfectly match Philmont's recommended path. Mine is using an algorithm to kind of determine the best way to go between the particular camps. But that's a minor thing. You always have the freedom to hike where you want to hike. In the itinerary list, you can pick on any particular. Yeah. So if you were to mouse over the black line, the trail, or over the profile there, you're zoomed in a little bit. It's a little hard to see if you zoom out.
Like
but
that?
as you mouse over the path, or mouse over not the map itself, but the website page you zoomed in. I'm trying to get both the path and the profile visible on the screen at the same time. There you go. So scroll up a little bit.
Okay.
Now if you move the map down and you mouse over on the profile.
Look at that.
So you can see a
that's
arrow that
crazy.
moves along the path to show where you are at that elevation at that point. So you can kind of look at some of that information as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, so you can see as you move along, you can see the little pointer move along the trail and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's where you're at." Um, Obviously, you can jump to other itineraries just by picking on the number on the side there. If you
Sure.
scroll up to the itinerary description again, each one of those camps is clickable. So if you were to click on Head of Dean there or Rich Cabins in the list there,
Oh my goodness.
so it'll then tell you about that camp. It tells you which itineraries go through that camp, gives you a picture of what you typically would see when you arrive at that camp. Most of the camps have a picture, not all of them. I'd say about half. Same with the campsite maps. The campsite maps, I'll give a disclaimer here in that these change pretty much every year. So don't rely on the accuracy of that. This particular one you can see is a 2012 map.
Mhm.
So the campsites may or may not move. So, if you're die hard set on we want campsite 11 there, campsite 11 may not be there anymore. It may have been closed,
Right.
moved as they're doing erosion control or making sure that, they don't overuse an area. I just haven't had somebody give me, I take submissions from people. So when you your ranger's going to teach you that when you arrive at a camp, take a picture of the campsite map that's typically nailed to a tree when you enter that area.
Mhm.
Because you're going to look at that and say, okay, here's the campsites. And you're going to say, let's go to campsite 3. And you get there in another cruise there. Well, you don't necessarily want to hike all the way back to look at the map again to find another one. So they recommend taking a picture. And what I ask is send me those pictures when you get back to base camp and get a cell signal so that I can update and get a later version on the website.
Nice. I bet if we ask Philip nicely, he would give you access to like current ones.
I've talked to conservation department and because the fact that they change and people complain about it not being accurate, they won't give me the information anymore. So I have to rely on hikers and pictures.
Wow. Okay. Maybe we can apply it.
I ask every couple years. And
Yeah. Maybe if enough people apply pressure strategically in the right places, we can get that moving for you. I'd like to think that, our whole goal in this group is to help people any way we can. It seems like getting the most current information to people would be helpful. So therefore, we should be able to find people to support that. But I absolutely love what you put together here. I've seen your site, I've used it.
Hidden thing for you, on the quick filters, pick all for type.
Right. Is that over here? Quick filters, all. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that's just showing you all the camps. It shows whether it's staffed with a little person, whether it's a closed camp. Up in there in the top right, show all camps on a map.
Wow.
So that's every camp sorted by staffed, trail, closed, whether it's on neighboring property or our own property or a dry camp or something like that. There's check marks at the top to filter it if you want. It even shows turnarounds and stuff like that.
Wow.
So just fun little things. And of course, as you mouse over the particular camp on the left-hand side, a little highlighter will show where that camp is.
Wow.
And if you click on it, it'll obviously take you to the camp page for that particular camp.
Huh.
You've been working, Mike.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is a heck of a job you've done here. All right. I think this is going to be very helpful to crews as they are trying to figure out what they want to do. All right.
Across the top, you'll see, currently we're on the 12-day treks. There's tabs for the 9-day treks and the 7-day treks. The trails section allows you to just look at information between any two particular camps, so that you can,
Oh, wow.
just pick on a particular trail segment,
Sure.
and it'll give you some information about that. One of the things I've tried to work with some of the well-known hikers of Philmont who have done things along the hikes, and try and get, and it doesn't exist at this time, but hope to get at some point in time, a history of, as you're hiking this trail, at the halfway point, look off to the left and you'll see the ruins of X, Y, and Z or something like that. To kind of have, if anybody from the 70s and 60s remembers the old trails book. But the same type of thing that you see on the full itineraries just shows this. And at the top, it'll say this particular trail segment is a part of, which itinerary it might be used in.
Huh. Yeah, neat. So speaking of books, have you ever thought about assembling the various different information into some sort of booklet, something available?
Rock Rohrabacher has his Philmanac.
Yeah.
I would recommend the Philmanac for a lot of the history. Rock has done a great job on that. This is more focused on the itineraries and the trails, I guess.
Sure.
I've got permission from Rock to use his history, but that's more based on camps as opposed to in between camps.
Right. I've seen this site before. I poked around a little bit over the several years. Really was not aware of all of the little details and things. You got some amazing functionality built into this. So yeah, well done. All right. Anything else we need to look at here?
Should I mention Legacy, Phil?
Sure.
In conjunction with this, I have a side website. If you want to change the URL to legacy.philtrek.com.
Okay. Huh.
So what this is this basically is a result of the Ute Park fire. When we lost the Dean Cow Camp, we lost a lot of the history. The staff at each camp record their team in some way, usually in the staff cabin. And so what I have done is started to go through and document every single one of these legacy boards and the staff that worked.
Wow.
So that's a newer camp, so that doesn't have much history. But if you pick like Indian writings, so just click on Chase Cow or the little icon and find Indian writings. They're alphabetical.
Yeah, but I don't spell good, so. H, there's that. Okay, there it is.
And so you can see where each staff has, documented their team. And click on the first one. 1977. Notice that first name?
Yeah.
Explain it.
Wally Berg has climbed Everest quite a few times.
Wow.
He's an international guide.
Huh.
But he started in Indian writings.
Wow. Yeah, this is really neat. So our group tends to focus on people preparing to do a trek, and what I'd really like to hope is that some of the people who go on a trek, some of the youth that go on the trek especially, will find something there that brings them back because it's something I didn't do. I wanted to do. I thought it was out of reach for me when I was of the appropriate age as a kid to go and work at Philmont. I had done a trek, but I thought working there was out of reach. One of my kids has worked there, and I've seen what it's done for her. And I really hope that people appreciate seeing the marks left by, the history of the people who worked and grew and had these amazing life experiences in their own lives, but also the experiences that I have seen where the staff, I know when you walk in the camper areas and camping headquarters, you don't see it so much. But as soon as you get in the behind the scenes, the staff areas, there are change lives signs everywhere. So I'm so jealous of the staff who have had those opportunities, because that'll change your own life. Like as selfishly speaking, I wish I had all those opportunities. I think it's a real blessing. And I hope that exposing some of this and what it meant to the people who work there will help inspire new people to pursue the same kind of things in their lives. So,
yeah, as advisors, when you talk to your youth, there's usually a staffer at a camp that made a significant impact on them. Yeah. And this is a way to go back and find who was that staffer. Sometimes that's a way to look up some of that information. The advisors who may have attended as a youth years ago can look at this. My mom was on staff in the training center. I was on staff. My son was on staff.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
I'm a triple generation.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, we have exhausted our hour, and I'd like to thank Scott left us, which he warned us he may do that. Thank you, Mark, for being here. For our normal panelists, I think that our guest knocked it out of the park. Every one of you was fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Please consider yourself welcome if you want to come back and talk about something specific, or if you just want to come be a part of the panel and the experience and help us help people to have a better experience out there at Philmont. I hope, Phil, Michael, Rory, please consider yourself part of the family, and you're welcome to come back and participate anytime you like. So thank you so much for being here for that. I do want to talk about something, and I'm a little hesitant because I thought this was going to take off, and I actually didn't get the response that I expected for it. And that is, there'd been this idea of doing an autumn adventure within the Philmont Trek Talk group. So we've got, we're close to 25,000 people in the group now. And there'd been some grumblings. If we offer something, we should be able to get 500-600 people to go. So I talked to some folks in base camp and said, here's what we're thinking about. Would you be willing to put together a Philmont Trek Talk specific and maybe give some behind the scenes stuff? Like we get together with Rory and Harold and do some museum and tour stuff and explore some things at the PTC and then maybe do a service project and then go do the Autumn Adventure Trek, something like that. So I wrote up what a few of us have been talking about for about 6 or 8 months and sent it over and had some discussions and got amazing support from the staff side. And then when I shared that within the group, I didn't get quite the enthusiasm I was expecting. I'm not sure if we're going to do this or not. So I wanted to formally speak about it here for a second and say, if anyone is watching or listening to this and has an interest in going for an autumn adventure and you don't have a group of people that you already know you want to go with, because it is a very valid argument that could be the way to do it. If you went on a trek with the scouts and thought this would be amazing if we didn't have the scouts, then I've heard people who have had the nerve to utter that out loud. They have the Autumn Adventure is available. You can go as an all adult crew. I encourage you to assemble your group of core people and do that. And if you would like the adventure of throwing your name in the hat with a bunch of other people from the Philmont Trek Talk group, and doing it that way, then I think probably what I'm going to do is create a form and share it within the group here shortly, where if you have enough interest that, maybe fill out the form and indicate what level of interest you are. And we'll figure out if we have enough people to be viable to organize that for the fall this year or next year. It'll be a 25 or 26. Depends on how many people are available and interested for each time period. So look for that. I think in the next week or so, I'm going to put that form up to solicit a more official type of interest. And maybe I'll shoot a video and talk about it and share that as well. Because by now, in replay, usually we've lost a lot of people. So, yeah, I think that's it for now. Mark, do you have anything? Did I miss anything that we had talked about earlier?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, the thing when it comes to Philbreak and those other programs with ex Philmont staffers, the bonus is you get all the back in the day stories, and that in and of itself is just priceless. Because there's a lot of knowledge and experience over the years of just things.
Sure.
And Philmont and the history and the why things are the way they are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Bob Mosier, I think, explained it very well this summer. Our PSA executive director, he said, if you volunteer for everything the PSA offers, you can spend 2 months of your year at Philmont. And I think Phil spends probably at least a month and a half there.
I just asked my wife. Yeah.
And I've spent at least 3 weeks there this last year. And I hope to do more in the future. But, when you only have 4 or 5 weeks of vacation, the wife wants to go on trips too,
Yeah. We showed the Philbreak requirements. It didn't say you couldn't bring your spouse.
That's right. Well, get them registered. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, Daryl, I apologize. We left you sit in the green room, and apparently Scott dropped out and came back to the green room, and I didn't see he was down there, so I apologize for that. You got to throw something at me, or you ate all the cookies in the green room, didn't you? You're muted, Scott. I know he said something witty because he's muted. And he lost his microphone, apparently. I'm just sitting here looking to see if Daryl is actually awake. Yeah. Did you have anything? We're about to wrap up, Daryl. I apologize for leaving you in the green room too long. Thanks for sending me the note to let me know you were there. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on since I finally let you in? No? Okay. Thanks so much. And Mark, to kind of build on what you're saying, I want to tie it back to what Rory said earlier about taking in some of the history, and it helps you appreciate something that Harold said to me this summer. We shot some videos for the museum, and one of the videos that was him saying, listen, I really suggest that if you're going to tour the museums, try to do it before the trek, because then everyone is going to have all of this historical context that becomes more tactile, maybe more relevant. It's like more hands-on as you're out there experiencing things. So I highly recommend people do that. And I know not every young person is necessarily a museum person, but you can go backpack anywhere. The history and all of the people who have invested years of blood, sweat, and tears into the place really make a difference, but only if you're aware of it. So thanks everyone for being here. Okay, Daryl.
Those that arrive a day early, you know, the museum and the villa tours are a good thing to do on that day zero, if you want to call it. You know,
Sure.
You get some hiking and walking in and acclimation, and that's a good time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll have to say that for people who show up, there was some discussion in the group today. Some folks asking about, well, if you want to come in more than a day early, where can you stay? And we talked about the typical places like the Whittington Center. And I think Austin spoke up and talked about hikers. They've got the motel and they've got the RV park and campground, whatever. There are a lot of different options around aside from doing that first day in base camp. I came in early this summer. 2-3 days early, 4 days early, I can't remember. I stayed at the PTC in one of the last little tents in the row, looking out. So if I left my doors open, I'm looking out at Rory's front lawn over at the villa, and it was a different experience. I mean, it's neat to be over in Trailbound or Homebound. I've been put in both places on arrival before. It's a different environment to be across the street over at the villa and to wake up and see the deer. And literally, I was walking. I know I'm going off tangent here, but I was walking from PTC over towards camping headquarters, and about 4 feet off of the trail was a little baby deer that had to have been born within 10 minutes of me walking up to it. And you don't find that over in Trailbound. So it was a neat experience being over there, and I appreciated it. And now I'm telling people, hey, if you really want to do something different. I actually ran into a crew in a PTC that instead of being a day early across the street in Trailbound, they got one of the luxury deluxe tents for the whole crew. They put the whole crew in it, which had to have been interesting. Probably better before a trek than after. The smells would probably be a little less intense, I'd imagine. But there's some neat opportunities to do things other than just your standard arrive and do your trek and leave. You know, there's a lot more to explore in the area. So, Michael, yes.
I was just going to say, at least for those who drive to Philmont, our troop, we're in the Denver area, and recommend trying to do those museums and activities before the trek, because 9 times out of 10 after the trek, everybody's trying to get out early and get back home and stuff like that. And so anything that, you know, we had planned on doing the museum first thing in the morning, but then everybody decided they wanted to leave early. And so sometimes you miss out on that. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. When the trek is over, people just want to get home.
Yeah, some people. Scott, your microphone must not be working because you appear to be unmuted. Do some. Well, I don't know sign language. That ain't gonna help. Never mind. It was a bad idea. Okay. Anyone have anything else before we cut loose here? No. Well, if that's everything, then I think we should probably shut it down. Is anybody not ready?
Icon.
Ready? Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that's